تكلم الشجاع الكريم بعد صحفية مختلفة مش تسأل اسم الصحفي أذكر سؤال البرد المواضيع العسكريين تعقد هذه وتسأل.
إذن حضرات السيدات والسادة، مرحبا بالإعلاميات والإعلاميين. وأود بدءا أن أجدد الترحيب بالسيد جون كيري وزير الخارجية الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية الذي يحضر معنا في وقت قصير للاجتماع معنا على اجتماع الدورة الثانية للحوار الاستراتيجي التونسي الأمريكي الذي يتواصل الآن في إطار 3 فرق عمل تواصل العمل معا. جملة من التوصيات: فريق عمل أمني يتعلق بالأمن والدفاع، فريق يتعلق بالتنمية الاقتصادية، وفريق يتعلق بالتعاون العلمي والتكنولوجي. وقد عبرنا للسيد جون كيري عن شكرنا لمساندة الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية للتجربة التونسية في مجال الانتقال الديمقراطي، والتي واكبتها الإدارة الأمريكية عنها ودعمتها سياسيا أيضا وماديا. وهذه التجربة باعتبارها الوحيدة التي نجحت في المنطقة فإنها محل تقدير من طرف الإدارة الأمريكية ومن طرف العالم أيضا. وأريد أن أؤكد على أهمية الحوار الاستراتيجي باعتباره دعامة للشراكة وأمام التحديات الكبيرة التي هنا في المستوى الأمني وفي المستوى كذلك الاقتصادي والاجتماعي بالنسبة إلى تونس. فيوجد ترابط متين بين الوضع الأمني والوضع الاقتصادي، وكل عمل إرهابي يؤثر سلبا على التنمية الاقتصادية والاجتماعية. ولهذا فإن تونس قد أقرت جملة من الإجراءات وعملت على إرساء منظومة أمنية شاملة لمكافحة الإرهاب. وقد أنهت تونس صياغة استراتيجية لمقاومة العنف والإرهاب، وهي سوف تعرض قريبا على مجلس وزراء وعلى المجلس الأعلى القومي، وتتضمن ركائز 4. وقد بدأت ورشات عمل للتفكير في طرق تفعيلها على أرض الواقع. بدأنا بالدعامة الأولى لهذه المنظومة الاستراتيجية وهي الوقاية من الإرهاب، وسوف تتلى بورشة ثانية تتعلق بالتعامل مع العائدين من المناطق التوتر وبؤر العنف والإرهاب في سوريا، العراق، وفي ليبيا وغيرها بالنسبة إلى التونسيين بالخصوص. إذن تباحثنا في أشكال وآفاق التعاون بين تونس والولايات المتحدة في هذه المستويات المختلفة: الأمنية والعسكرية والاقتصادية المتعلقة بتحقيق التنمية، وكذلك بالتعاون العلمي والجامعي والتكنولوجي. فهذه الاتفاق أمضينا وثيقة تعبير عن نوايا فيما يتعلق بالضمان الأمريكي للقروض التونسية، حتى يمكن لهذه القروض أن تكون مناسبة وغير مجحفة لتحقيق مزيد من التنمية السريعة لتونس. ونحن نتطلع في تونس إلى إقرار برنامج مساعدات أمريكية على مدى 5 سنوات. يمكن للبرنامج الإصلاحي التونسي أن يتحقق بصفة متدرجة ولكن بنسق سريع، وخاصة للتركيز على المناطق الأقل تطورا ونموا، وهي المناطق الحدودية أو الداخلية التي يجب أن يكون عليها التركيز خاص. ولهذا فإن تونس تأمل أن تنتفع البرنامج الذي يسمى برنامج MCC، وهو ما يتعلق ببرنامج الألفية، تحديات الألفية. ونحن أيضا مرتاحون لنسق تطور العلاقات بين تونس والولايات المتحدة الأمريكية في مختلف هذه المجالات، ونتطلع لمزيد دعم هذا التعاون. كما تطرقنا بالطبع إلى الوضع الإقليمي، ونحن متفقون على ضرورة التوصل في أسرع وقت ممكن إلى حل سلمي سياسي في ليبيا، لأن ليبيا بالنسبة إلى تونس مصدر قلق كبير من الناحية الأمنية، حيث بدأ يعشش الإرهاب، وحيث يتم تسليح شباب تونسي وإرساله للقتال في بؤر التوتر، ويهدد رجوعهم أحيانا أمن تونس كما هو معروف. ولذلك فنحن في حاجة هنا إلى أن نتعاون في هذا المجال في مراقبة الحدود، أي دعم الولايات المتحدة لكي تكون أقدر على مراقبة حدودها من الناحية الغربية ومن الناحية الجنوبية بالخصوص، وحتى يقع منع دخول الأسلحة والإرهابيين إلى تونس من جديد. فهذا متعدد الجوانب، وسوف مع الفنيون والمختصون في المجال الأمني والعسكري لتفعيل ذلك على أرض الواقع في الأيام القادمة. إذن هذه تقريبا وبدون دخول في التفاصيل التوجهات والمحاور التي تم التطرق إليها، ونحن متفائلون بمستقبل التعاون الاستراتيجي بين تونس والولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. وأجدد الترحاب بالسيد جون كيري وزير الخارجية الأمريكية، وأحيل إليه الكلمة.
Mr. Foreign Minister, thank you. I am very delighted to be back in Tunis, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to reaffirm the historic friendship between the United States and frankly to also reaffirm the growing strategic partnership between Tunisia and the United States. I'm also glad to be here to welcome our own Ambassador Daniel Rubenstein, who is newly arrived 3 weeks ago, and I'm very confident is going to be a terrific steward of the U.S.-Tunisia partnership. In addition to what the Foreign Minister just told you about our meetings this morning and the importance of the strategic dialogue, I also had a chance earlier to meet with the National Dialogue Quartet, which very deservedly won the Nobel Peace Prize this year. That is recognition that every Tunisian can be very proud of, because it reflects a commitment by all of the people of Tunisia who came together to support the political leadership in the country's commitment to democratic principles that literally could not be sustained without broad public support. Later today, I look forward to meeting with President Essebsi and confirming the commitment of the United States to this ongoing transition to democracy. In every one of the meetings that I had this morning, and particularly in the strategic dialogue, my message is the same. The eyes of the world are on Tunisia, and America wants Tunisia to succeed. Tunisia is where the Arab Spring was born, and it is where it distinctly continues to bloom in ways that are defining possibilities for other countries in the region. Tunisia's democracy obviously remains a work in progress, as it does in every democracy, including my own. But despite great hardships and two tragic, despicable terrorist attacks, Tunisia has turned time and again to peaceful dialogue, to consensus building, to compromise. Your nation, Mr. Foreign Minister, remains a shining example to those who claim that democracy is not possible in this part of the world. And by including everyone throughout the political process, across the spectrum, religious, secular, Tunisia has now built a powerful front against extremists who oppose freedom, oppose democracy, oppose everything that the good people of this country are striving to build. The United States will continue to support the Tunisian people as they chart a way forward, and to help Tunisia move forward on its economic, democratic, and security objectives. The United States has already provided more than $700 million in foreign assistance to Tunisia since 2011. And that has come in the form of direct assistance to democracy building. It has come in the form of assistance for elections and for direct civil society, and it has come in the form of security assistance. The United States remains deeply invested in strengthening Tunisia's economy in order to both ensure prosperity for the people of Tunisia, but also to help address the root causes of radicalization. Today we launched the Joint Economic Commission, which will soon stand alongside the strategic dialogue as a key driver of the private sector. And we held government discussions and also the government discussions on the future of the bilateral relationship. Let me point something fundamental out. Now, I mentioned this in our meetings this morning. For investment to take place, investors need to have confidence in the democracy, confidence in the law, confidence in the bankruptcy laws, confidence in the investment laws. They need to understand that there is the possibility of earning that return on investment. That is why our cooperation on security is so critical, because to build the future that the people of Tunisia want, they need the jobs, they need the opportunities, and those opportunities come hand in hand. Security, investment, democracy, the civil society, all of these are what help to build the confidence that the global community wants to see. Advancing Tunisia's democracy will depend on its ability to continue to build an open and transparent economy, an economy where corruption is not tolerated, where Tunisians trust that their hard work and talent will pay off, and where foreign investors will be able to trust that their investments are secure. We strongly support the government of Tunisia's ambitious economic reform agenda towards these ends. The government is already moving in that direction. The government has identified specific reform efforts which they have forwarded now to the Parliament in an effort to move forward. So we are prepared to do more to help Tunisia achieve its goals. And that's why earlier today, Foreign Minister Bakoush and I signed a declaration of intent signifying our readiness immediately to pursue the specific terms and conditions of our third loan guarantee. Obviously, to preserve and protect Tunisia's emerging democracy and growing prosperity, enhancing the security cooperation, as I just mentioned, is going to be essential. During President Essebsi's visit to Washington last May, President Obama announced his intent to designate Tunisia a major non-NATO ally. And we will continue to stand with Tunisia in addressing shared challenges facing us in Libya, as well as the threats posed by terrorist groups like Daesh, Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb, Ansar al-Sharia. We welcome Tunisia's decision to join the global counter-ISIL coalition in September, and we are very pleased that Tunisia has already contributed in a meaningful way to some of our key working groups. Yesterday, I delivered a speech in Washington about our strategy in Syria, a large component of which is the fight against Daesh. And today I note that coalition forces conducted an airstrike targeting Mohammed Mwazi, a British citizen also known as Jihadi John. Videos released by Daesh showed Mwazi participating in horrific murders of American journalists Stephen Sotloff and James Foley, American aid worker Abdul Rahman Qasim, British aid workers David Haynes and Alan Henning, and Japanese journalist Goto, and a number of other hostages. We are still assessing the results of this strike, but the terrorists associated with Daesh need to know this: your days are numbered, and you will be defeated. There is no future, no path forward for Daesh which does not lead ultimately to its elimination, to its destruction. And increasingly, we are becoming more clear and coordinated in that strategy. Ultimately, over the long term, the destruction will come and be sustained by people like those in Tunisia who have chosen the road forward through democratic process, through good governance, through transparency, through accountability, through democratic principles embodied in governments like that of Tunisia. And that is why the other major component of our strategy is the pursuit of a lasting and genuine political transition to a government in Syria that, like Tunisia's, is pluralistic, inclusive, and responsive to the needs of all of the Syrian people. So I will leave Tunis this afternoon to go to Vienna, where the international community will gather again to continue building a framework for that political transition along the lines that we have seen here. Tunisia is a great model, and in the face of attacks aimed at hurting Tunisia economically, at instilling fear and sowing division among the Tunisian people, it's important to note that Tunisians have not for a moment abandoned the values upon which their revolution was based. Instead, the people of Tunisia have shown extraordinary determination, courage, grit, and unity. And today we also discussed the critical role that civil society has played in this enormous transformation. And civil society must continue to play that role in helping to chart the path forward for Tunisia's consolidation process. So we, in a short period of time, we actually covered a lot of ground. There is no question that together we have a lot of work ahead of us. But on behalf of President Obama and the American people, I assure you, the United States is committed to standing with the Tunisian people, to deepening the growing partnership that our nations share, and to continuing to support Tunisia's democratic journey in the time ahead. Thank you, and now I'd be very happy to join my colleague in taking on a few questions.
وجه لنا احنا. إذن فيما يتعلق بسؤالك على خطر الدواعش في ليبيا، فنحن أولا حريصون موجها سؤال أمريكي. تفضل.
So, with respect to the question that you asked about the additional assistance, military, and the efforts on security, I believe we have put in already some $250 million directly into security assistance. And our budget has additional assistance in it. And I told the foreign minister that we will be going back to talk with members of Congress about the specific needs in order to make sure that our budget and appropriations include meeting additional help for the security needs of Tunisia. Our military personnel will actually be here in a matter of, I think, about 2 weeks to have further discussions directly with the government of Tunisia regarding not just helicopters, which has been on the agenda for some period of time, but also intelligence gathering, the issue of how to best manage the possibility, I know it's been discussed publicly, of intelligence gathering capacity through unmanned airborne vehicles and the sovereignty and control over those vehicles, which is very important for Tunisia, and we understand that. Also, there are additional ways in which we believe we can be supported. We are already doing things here in a very direct way, and we intend to build on that, but listening, obviously, to the government of Tunisia. We're not asking Tunisia to do things they don't want to do. We want to do the things that Tunisia describes to us will help the most. And so we have total respect for the needs for the government to work through its own decision-making process, and we will work closely in order to do that. I also might point out that we've already provided 2 loan guarantees in 2012 and 2014, totaling about $1 billion. You asked about this signature today, which we did on a new intent to sign. The answer is very quickly. Literally, as soon as we are able to work through the details, and since we've already done it twice, it really shouldn't be very complicated, and I expect it to happen very, very quickly. We understand the urgency of the economic need for Tunisia. And finally, on the issue of Libya and the role that we will play. We did talk about Libya, and I mentioned that I talked yesterday with the new UN envoy, Martin Kobler. We agreed to be working extremely closely together with respect to Libya. I have appointed a special envoy who has been working diligently with Bernardino Leon, very, very closely over a long period of time. I've talked recently with the Foreign Minister of Italy, Paolo Gentiloni, about the possibilities that we may indeed have a conference, possibly in sometime in the next months, regarding the issue of Libya. There is an urgency. ISIL obviously has tried to spread its tentacles into Libya. I would say that the current impasse between the House of Representatives and the GNC, impasse in which only one entity gains because of it, and that's ISIL. So it is absolutely critical for people who aspire to be leaders in Libya to actually lead, and to lead following the model of Tunisia. come together and compromise and put together a legitimate government, a legitimate governing entity that will allow the many countries that want to be supportive to be able to work with them in order to be able to deliver the support they hope to deliver. Libya is something that we all have an interest in, and particularly the near neighbors. So we're very aware of the ways in which what is happening in Libya spills over into Tunisia, spills over into Egypt. Algeria has a profound impact on the stability of the region. So it is imperative that we all focus more intently on Libya, and we fully intend to.
أود أن أضيف شيئا يتعلق بقضية ليبيا. بالنسبة إلينا تطرقنا أيضا إلى الحل السلمي السياسي في سوريا، لأننا بالنسبة إلى أمن تونس يوجد ترابط الآن بين ما يجري في سوريا وما يجري مع التركيز بالخصوص على ليبيا.
You were talking about the importance of democracy and reforms. How concerned is the question of you concerned about the current turmoil in the government, the infighting in one of the parties? How much is that going to affect the possibility of carrying out the reforms and convincing other international lenders that they can be safe in putting the money into Tunisia? Second question is about Libya also. Again, you're talking about the importance of changing the scene there, but the latest indications that the peace process is in trouble, especially with these allegations of conflict of interest in the previous UN envoy. How concerned are you that this is going to affect the peace process there? And Mr. Kerry, just another quick question. You mentioned the significance of the targeting of Jihadi John. Can you also talk about the significance of the Sinjar operation?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What was that?
You mentioned the significance of targeting Jihadi John. Can you also talk about the significance of the Sinjar?
Yes, yes.
En ce qui concerne votre question, l'influence ou l'impact de ce qui se passe dans les partis sur la situation politique dans le pays, je peux vous dire que nous sommes en démocratie, que ce qui se passe entre les partis n'a pas d'impact sur la marche du gouvernement et sur la situation socio-économique du pays. C'est tout à fait normal qu'il y ait des problèmes dans les partis ou entre les partis, mais tout le monde soutient l'action du gouvernement et soutient les réformes qui sont en cours. Donc, il n'y a pas d'impact sur la marche du gouvernement.
Okay. Let me just say very quickly that the minister into the internal issues here. I would simply say that Tunisia is an example of Islamists engaging constructively in the political sphere, and Nada's leaders have participated positively in the mainstream political process since the 2011 revolution, including their decision to turn over power peacefully. So we have high hopes that Tunisia will continue down this path of compromise, reconciliation, and of working together. With respect to the Sinjar operation, even as we are sitting here today, Iraqi forces, Peshmerga-led forces are fighting to liberate Sinjar. And there are some entrenched ISIL fighters in Sinjar, but we are absolutely confident that over the next days, Sinjar will be able to be liberated. And it's a vital location because it sits right on Highway 37, which is the principal transport linkage for resupplying from Raqqa to Mosul. So it has serious strategic implications, not to mention the fact that the Yazidis who have been attacked and murdered, slaughtered, and driven up onto a mountain and who have been living terrible lives over this period of time need the right to be able to return to their home. So we view this as a very legitimate and important strategic goal. And we'll keep you posted over the next days as this battle unfolds.
Thank you, everybody. That concludes today's press conference. Thank you.